amygdala, hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex are the combined parts which take responsible decisions, and these are half developed. So mostly your brain is controlled by this element of brain, because of which small threats also looks like big threats, and that's why you are so much ruled by emotions, mood swings. Your guys are very incredible observers but terrible interpreters. Means you notice when your parents talk or somebody talks, you subtly notice their body motions, their tone, but when it comes to what do that mean, you understand it, but when it comes to you put it into words, it comes as you have a tendency to associate that with some feeling, and then also not only that but also assume the worst of it, or more jump into conclusions. Maybe she is angry, it could be she is frowning, but you take to the highest. Frown, say anger is like highest of emotion, so you always think the worst. That's not only you, any teen, this typical teen behaviors. Then you're biased to make judgments about people, so your bullshit detection, we call it, is very high. So whenever someone does, you say bull crap, these are very very common things, because the detector is very very highly tuned towards conducting. That means what? That means that when you give more importance towards judgments than praises, kind of thing. So you are very very sensitive to others opinions about you. That means that. And then you look for independence and you look for equality in communication. You can't sustain someone looking down upon you. All right. Then there are few more I have noted down. So there is a need for independency is very very high. You want to make your own decisions, and you wanted to see if that is acted upon also, not just making decisions but also you want to act upon it. And then your identity, you form a sense of, okay, this is me, these are my likes, these are my dislikes, this is my acceptance towards my body, the body care. All these things form very strongly during these emerging years. And your self-esteem, that can be defined by a question on how much do I like myself. In the early adolescence, it's very very common because we have formative body parts, changing body parts. There are a lot of pimples that might come. There might be body hair that might be coming, secondary sexual organs that's being developed in the bodies. So the self-esteem towards early adolescent age could be at a sometime low, it's a dip. But as you're growing up towards 11 and 15, from 11 to 15 and 16, your sense of, okay, this is who I am, this is what it is to be me. And you slowly start accepting, this is my height, this is my weight, this is my complexion, this is my eye power, I am so as and when, then your sense of who I am is accept. The more you're able to accept yourself that this is who I am, your self-esteem is increased. But it's very normal for young teens to feel low about themselves and trying to compare themselves with other friends and peers, that we don't have this, they have this. And they we'll also talk about the consequences, but let's talk just about the traits now. And then the need for friends and belongingness is very very high. The most important people in your life are your friends. You are okay to spend all the time with them. You're okay to go to their houses also and spend time with them. It doesn't matter whether you're here or there, anywhere else. Friends are your life. That's very very natural. Then again, change in family dynamics. What is it is, you slowly separate yourself from your family, working matters of your family. It's not that you're detached, but you already seen it. You know what your parents bring forth to the table. You know they cannot solve all the problems. They know that, you know their struggles, you know their tendencies, you know their strengths, you know their weaknesses. So now you're trying to bring your own self. As I said, identity. The identity comes by seeing everybody around you and trying to become your own self. So tomorrow it could be your parents are not the same as your grandparents. So it's very natural that you may not also be the same as your parents, but you may pick some traits from this auntie, that uncle, that role model, that actor, this teacher, this friend of mine, this friend's mom of mine. And you're trying to emerge yourself into a stronger self, and you're trying to experiment. Is this fine? Is this okay? Is this not okay? Just like you're styling with your hair, your colors. Similarly, you're trying to just see which one is me, which is not me. So there are a lot of experimentation phase is happening at this time. This is very very again common during adolescence. Again, the need for changing of male female relationships. We are in at this age, most of the teens exhibit traits like curiosity towards partners, romantic partners. They are in an explorative phase on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Some people do through observation, some people through practices. It's all depends on their own personal choices. But the need for another person, women, girls get into more groups, and then when they talk about a lot of stuff, need for understanding becomes an anchor for them to form very close relationships, even within their friends. And towards boys, when you're talking about peers and families and relationships, for boys it's all about how many things we are able to do, what actions you could do. So for them it's not sharing that creates the bond, but it's more about, I'm not talking about the romantic relations, I'm talking about friends as such. The girl's friends, the girl boy friends as an whole agenda, not particularly boyfriend girlfriend relation. So what anchors the group is, for certain people it is about sharing, about emotional security. For few people it's about being able to act, being able to display their ability to functions of remarks and their strengths and stuff like that, especially when they are with boys. Okay, well, am I able to come to close to what you are today? Is it okay? Do you see yourself any of these, most of these? Hmm? You have to communicate, okay? Otherwise, I'll be like one way. Hmm? Do you see yourself, right? So, so let's move on to something which is about behavioral changes. This is about who you are. So how does your behavior change? If you look your former self, something your 8-year-old self, your 10-year-old self, and today what you are, you would have seen a small variation in your attention, in your motivation, in your risk-taking behaviors. Though you must be, if you are from IB schools, you will be given your profiles. If you are from CBSE schools, you may not be knowing most of your profiles, and I'm not very sure if you are known about it. But still, you would see that you are a little open to a little more newer experiences, novelty. You're looking new ways to look at life. Perspective about life is changing. The worldview is changing. So why is this behavior changing? Again, then as the parts of the brain are improving or growing, there is some things which are introduced, which are pulled out. So the consequences of these things are that you may not, and if you see in the early teens you will be having a dip in your attention, and as you're growing towards 15, 16, your attention gets better. And as it goes to 20, you'll be able to, the gray matter is something which controls all your functions. The more the gray matter, the more your IQ. So all these elements are part of your brain, which can influence your lot of performance traits. So the motivation is your goal orientedness, your, the long term feasibility of letting go of they get instant gratification. So teens are mostly of instant gratification. That's the reason most of the times you get kick out of doing certain very quick things, some rewards that comes out of a game or a e-sport. So you feel very motivated to do long hours because of those instant gratifying aspects. The same thing, if it's not there in your own studies, it takes a lot of self-control, persuasion, and your own values and your own motivations towards life. These are the binding factors that can push some people to perform better than others during these ages. But most of the times, if you see, unless until you are bound by strong family objectives which give values towards your education and stuff, the motivation level towards normal chores, simple as keeping your home clean, or going for a bath or haircut, or small things also, you tend to procrastinate unless until it's required. You tend to procrastinate a lot of things unless until, cramping is become cramming, we say, no, it becomes very parcel of your life because last minute deadlines. These things are becomes part of lives at some places when we are not having those. Usually it gets introduced during these adolescent years. Slowly as we are growing, we learn the importance of time management. Because planning and organization is built by prefrontal context, right? So as it is growing, you also tend to become in understand the importance of, okay, I need to have goals and goal orientedness. So some for a small time it appears that there's a dip in your goal orientedness, but then again you will catch up when you're in 19th, 7th to ninth you'll see a dip, and ninth grade you'll catch up because of the formation. That's how I can explain it. So it's all very normal, and risk taking behaviors will talk a little more about it. So what is impulsivity? Impulsivity is about doing things without thinking about the consequences. So why I want to discuss this is very important aspect, because every action we take has a consequence. So the positive aspect about having impulsivity is we can't read the same books, we can't do the same things again and again. So you would like to open yourself for newer knowledge, newer experiences in terms of way doing things, experiencing things, going to places, visiting things, eating new things, whatever are the newness in life which can make a life more beautiful. You'll be more accepting those experiences. You want to try it out, even though you have not done earlier. You may want to try it out, and you're wanting to take new decisions which are your own decisions, not influenced by your parents or your siblings or your family members. So that's the importance of having impulsivity as added trait to adolescent. But what happens is, may not be, because as I said, our brain is not yet completely fully done. It's not developed yet. So some place the neurons are firing very actively, some places they are not. Because of that, not always we are in a place to make rightful decisions. So these freedom of autonomy, that I have to do things on my own, sometimes can may lead to mistakes and serious negative consequences. That is why I'm trying to talk about this. First, understanding your brain behavior, about your traits as adolescents, can give you the confidence that it's okay to make mistakes as long as we learn from it. Okay. And sometimes every action do have consequences, and when we are in a place to take those decisions and choices, we also have to own up the consequences of it. Certain times the consequences may be very very bad for future you. For that reason, I'm trying to bring forth a couple of adolescent risk-taking behaviors like using cigarette or alcohol use, binge drinking, focusing on bets and trying to consume drugs, dangerous driving, fast driving, then meeting new people online and trying to do some risky behaviors on social media, then trespassing, vandalism, fighting, dressing more promiscuous and attention-seeking behaviors from the opposite sex. These are all things which are not, I'm not saying this bad or thing, but they're unhealthy choices. So as much as we make healthy choices, the more importance, the more better our life will be. But anything which is not aligned with our end objectives, family values, and what is my future self, okay, is my future self looking back and looking me myself, will I be proud about that decision of mine? Will I be proud about that action of mine? Is something you could look as a question mark before going and indulging into risk behaviors, because the peer pressure is very high during this time. Most of the decisions are driven by peers. So when all your friends are doing, it is not possible for you to say, hey, I'm not going into that. So that is the reason, you as a group, when you're making friendships, it's better you form you form your groups based on your mutual interest and hobbies and objectives in life. And then when you get into groups which are which are really promoting bad behaviors or risky behaviors, see how much you can get into it, and what is your we call it as a window where you can take that risk. It's okay for you to take risk, and it's okay for you to consume that risk with a consequence. It's okay for you, as a person, as a family, you're okay to take that risk and be okay with that. Go for it. Or else check with yourself, check with your peers whether am I in a place to take this risk and go forward with it. All right. There's no wrong or right here. It's all about, it's your individual choice, but it's our responsibility to bring forth these informations so that you prefer to make healthier choices, because the key of any human is to be a better individual by end of when you become 20-year-old. So do you ask, auntie, is that mean 20-year-old don't make mistakes? No, as long as we are alive we make mistakes. So but this is the age where you know to make a distinction between a healthy choice and an unhealthy choice, a rightful choice and an unrightful choice. So it's important we know things so that we take decisions appropriately. So what do then I understood, okay, auntie, we got it, this is we. What do we need? So what do you need? Still, though you are an adolescent, though you are a very full-fledged adult in your own mind, Still, you need a safe environment with consistent love and support for your brain to develop. Okay, firstly, your brain to develop. Secondly, you need that loving, patient, understanding guidance from your parents, from your adults, other adults, and role models. Okay, it's not that though you are so attached with your peers and friends, it's not that these parents are out of your life. You need them at certain places. Let's understand how we can enhance that communication in the going slides. And then you need reminders of potential consequences and direction towards lower risk. That's what I was trying to do. No? As a responsible adult, I was trying to teach you what are the directions you may want to avoid if possible. But again, it's up to your choice. So this kind of reminders is required from a responsible someone. And then you also need your parents and people around you to believe in you, to respect you, and encourage your choices. Something like today morning, I showed these slides to Aryan, and Aryan told me, Auntie, we don't like these slides because probably our youth may like more on understanding relations. So I said, oh, is it? So I created all my slides and I thought I'll talk more on science because you kids are all very scientific, very intelligent kids studying in NPS and all that. So I thought, oh no, if I talk very simple language, they'll say we all know this, Auntie, whatever. Why should we spend Saturday evening with you? So I thought so. But then Aryan said, no, Auntie, we don't want more science jargons. It will put us off. So I said, okay, bacha, I will not do talk that. I will change the content according to your liking. So this is about what? Respecting other people's choices. So something, this is what you appreciate more. Everyone to listen to you, but we'll talk. I'm giving this context for a small reason, so that you will understand that reason when we are going through on what happened in the conversation, how to communicate with adults such that they listen to you. That is what we are talking now, no? How you talk so that they listen to you. Hmm? Let's understand that in a little more detail. And then you also need appropriate amount of independence, freedom with responsibility. Responsibility is the key for independence. How can you do that? That's the question, $1,000,000 question. Okay, let's get into that. What are I try to jot down some. Is all with me so far? Is it interesting, boring? Nah.
It's good. It's good to know, Auntie.
Huh?
Yeah.
I'm only seeing four faces, so I don't know where I am. Fine. Let's discuss more. Okay, so top areas of conflicts with parents. I try to get few. Usually I like my children to speak more, so I kept only four few which I know. Okay, let me hear out from you all. Okay, according to me, as per I spoke to a couple of kids, staying out late, bad company, risky internet use, food choices, chips, frizzy drinks instead of healthy salads, latest fashion and style, seeking more and more of personal care, then avoiding health checks and oral hygiene, using of mobile phones, gaming, communicating all the time with your friends day in day out, staying in your rooms, and lack of goal orientedness, poor motivation, thinking about tomorrow, marks. These are the small reasons for conflicts. What are other conflicts which I have not put here, but you think is a conflict in your life with your parents? Anything more? And you say, Auntie, you have listed off everything. Do you see any other points which are conflicts for you in your life?
Not really, Auntie. I think you've summed it up pretty well.
Okay, fine. So let's assume these are all our conflicts. Means what? Means every time we are grounded or we have some kind of disagreement with our parents because of these concerns. Okay. So whatever are those concerns, that I'm not worried about the concerns, because let's try it out. What does how to go about these roadblocks? Okay. Always the first thing, as always, is communication. Communication is the key for best relationship in the world, be it with your parents, be it with anyone else be it with your peers, friends, with your girlfriend, boyfriend, with your teacher, mentor, with your investor, with your tomorrow you get jobs, even there, or your profs. Anyone, communication is the key. So you need if you're taught communication skills at school, it's time for us to and practice it with respect and patience, because relationship nurturance is not like logical problem solving where you just solve one math problem and it's done. It takes time, it takes that kind of perseverance. So that's the eagle's view about solving the problem. Let's get into the details. Do we have any teens parents in this forum? If you have parents, I would want to talk about how you should talk first. If not, let's directly shift into how. Okay,
I
Ritu,
think, yeah, a parent has raised their hand.
we have parents in this forum. So
Yeah.
nice. Welcome to this, ma'am. Thanks for joining our kids program. I'm very elated. So, if you are a parent, so usually, with all due respect, parents, I love you guys, but I love my kids more. So let's make their lives happier. Okay. So we usually have this tendency, as I said to you, why I had to talk about these teen tendencies, not that they don't know. They know themselves very well, much more than I can explain to them. But I just told this is how the teen behaviors is, to reassure you that if your teen is exhibiting these kind of tendencies, it's part of growing up. They are work in progress. So please be patient with them. You're patient, you're absolutely a wonderful mom or a dad if you've been here. I'm just trying to give your thumbs up along with giving you that assurance that this is a very teen behaviors. And when we have tendencies to talk about our teen, because we are used to see them from baby stages, we usually often lecture them. Instead of, if we at all we have to use it 50 words, we use 100 words length. We have a lot of one-way conversations happening. So with this kind of age group, what doesn't work is I say you do, or authoritarian parenting styles don't work. We need to come to a mutual friendly kind of relationships, giving lot of importance to what they are trying to convey. I understand they convey in very, very short patches, very, very small windows they give us in terms of actually explaining what's happening in their lives. But if you can be a little curious, you can give them that family time or sometimes to connect with them, what's happening in their world, what's happening with them in their lives. They are very open to communicate as long as they see that you're not attacking them once they open their mouth on judging, belittling, accusing, putting others. Because when we have conversations with our friends, you talk, I talk, you talk, I talk. This is the same thing they expect. They also want to talk. They may talk in a more aggressive way because of their own fears that you will belittle them, you will negate them from the previous experiences. But initially, they want to share. But only thing is, they want to be respected, they want to be valued, and they want to be given independent to take decisions. So all our job is not to attack them, show them the respect they deserve, listen to their point of view, understand what they're trying to convey, ask questions, open-ended questions. Why do you think so? Why do? What happened? Why do you? What will happen if this happens? These are open-ended. You don't have to answer. They will answer for us. You just have to know what is happening in their life. The more open-ended questions we ask, the more they open up freely without fear and without having any inhibition. And whenever we want to answer some questions, make it short, because as I said, attention span of these kids are very low. Even if I talk more, they'll mute myself. That is kind of thing. So just make it very short, and don't try to talk to them like you're, like chuchu kuchu or their friends buddy buddy. So we are adults, they are kids, end of the day. So we have to always maintain that status quo with them. Even though how much ever we are friendlier with them, end of the day they know that we are their parents. So we can never ever take the place of their friends or the roles of their friends playing in our lives, because we have set for ourselves that we are parents as we are when we have holded our babies in the hands for the first time. So now they can't change that equation suddenly because they have become an adolescent. So let's be parents to them, and let's be a loving parent to them, as you always are. I know that. So next is they give some small series of sometimes uncertainties. So they get into certain small problems. So they impulsively ask questions. How do I do this? At that time, be present to that and capitalize that moment to give your pearls of wisdom, because they are in a accepting mode. Usually they are in a know all mode, but at times they show their vulnerability when they are first time struck with certain concerns. At that time, seize that moment. Either when you are walking, driving a car in a vegetable market, try to talk about, in a rewarding that make that conversations very warm for them, understanding that my mom and dad are there for me. That kind of feeling they should get by if you can capture that kind of moments in their lives. And then the most important thing is trust your team. They may not make very uh, you know optimal choices. They may not make every time very best choices, but when we are trying to continuously help them, fix them, protect them because of our perceived worry that they will fail or they will fall down, we are not giving them enough tools to become responsible. How many years can we protect them? How many years can we fix their problems? We can't be there for them. This is the age for them to fall down and learn. So let's hold them when they fall without belittling them, judging them, but give them enough trust that they will be in a place to solve their problems on their own. When you give them that space and acknowledge them with a feeling of trust, okay, then they are more open to come back to us when they really have concerns. Even though if our relationships are not as healthy as it has to be because of COVID or whatsoever, please, this is a secret, okay? Teens, close your ears. So what the teen attention span is, as I said, very small. So they don't remember the previous things and they don't remember the future things. So capitalize that the teen attention span for our thing. So it is very quickly they can revive the relation. They're very forgiving, they're very sweet. So we should use that attention span known as to your advantage and try to convert their relations. If your relations have been patchy, you had some disagreements, and you feel that your teen is not in a place to talk to you everything, you just start every day meal time as a family meal time we spend together time. Automatically they'll start opening in 2 weeks because they also want that window. As I said in the beginning, they want that assurance from their parents. They want to show their parents that we are grown up, we can do these things. So we just give them that window, they will open up. So it's very they've been our kids for all the time. It's just that the way they handle themselves have changed. So let us adapt to their styles. Let us be interested in what is that happening in their life, like what are the new play esports that are encouraging for them, what are the things what are happening in their life, who are their friends, why are they interested in this girl, this boy. Just ask what, why. So it gives us it gives a chance for them also to think why do they like, why do they want, what is happening. Instead of that, you can have conversations with them. All right, and this is for teens. Okay, so fundamentally, as I said, you need your parents as much as your parents need you. But the point is, the parents love you very dearly, and they have a very view of till you're their bacha, they're your apple of your eye. You are so sweet to them, and they can't let you allow you to fail because every parent think we had our hardships, so we don't want our kids to face those hardships. So they try to become a little overprotective, nosy, nudging, trying to make decisions on behalf of you. But now it's time for you to apply your communication skills to exhibit your need for autonomy, exhibit your need that you have grown up and you're in a place to make decisions. So for that, what you could do is try to understand. Empathy is something you're being taught at schools. So try to understand the situation from your parents' point of view. Is it fear that your mother is facing when you go out with your friends? You assure her, Mama, don't worry, I'll be back by 9. If I'm not back by 9, at 8:45, can we attempt to talk to her and say, Mom, I may be late by 9:30. I'm sure you guys are doing, but these things in every aspect. Something about telling you about your whereabouts, your safety, or what is happening with you, just to ensure that they're trying to give you a situation. Similarly, in every areas, if your parents are saying no, is there a way you could think why they are saying and try to give an answer? We'll discuss about how in the common steps. Then be direct, reassure that don't worry, be as clear as what you want. Tomorrow you want an iPhone, you just tell them, right? I want this, I want this, I want this. Similarly, in every single thing, instead of mincing words, maybe it's because of your education choices or your friends or your choice with your clothes, whatsoever it is, whichever is important for you, instead of mincing, instead of talking roundabouts or trying to hide things, lying or hiding facts. Try to be as straight as possible. Something which are even which is very very important, something about your clothes, your politics, sex, drugs, whatsoever, whichever is your choice, which is very important for you and you have a very strong notion on it, stick to your choice, but listen to what your parents have to say to it. And if you are having, even after listening to what your parent have said, you want to go ahead with your choice, own that choice. That means when you own a choice, you are owning the consequence also. Hmm? Be courageous to go back to them when your consequences has failed, or you have your consequence has resulted into some negative consequence or a bad consequence. Keep them informed instead of going into cocoon, sharing with your other friends who are also of the same situation. And then the other thing you could do is don't criticize them. We are all 40 years old, yeah. You're all 15 years old. See the generation gap. Huh? So you can't just say, hey, you don't understand us. Isn't it so? So try to understand, show them that this is what is our opinion, respect what they have to say, respect what they've never been to parenting sessions, they've never been to anything. So they're so because of their own experiences. They've been here, they've seen life, and they have some worldview about how I should do parenting and how I should not. Probably they may be also making mistakes. I'm not saying everyone is perfect, but give them a benefit of doubt and try to explain your worldview, your choices, your points in a more respectful way, in more how you want to be respected. You show the same respect because you expect that from them. You show that to them, saying action speaks larger than words, right? So you show them that this is how I like to be spoken about, so they will follow. So that's, it's all about perseverance as in practice, patience, as I said earlier. Then don't make requests, don't make demands. I need it, Illa. Yeah, you make it request. I need at least kind of statements has to be incorporated very frequently. And then use I statements. I'm sure your school has talked about these I statements in communication frameworks. Try to understand it. If you have not known about it, it's simple. You put I feel and then you talk about the concern without having you statement. It should not start with you and it should not look like a blame. So you are talking about you, means me. So here, as an example, I've given one statement. I feel you are not listening to my side of the story. Instead of saying, why don't you understand me? Why don't you? When you start with why don't you or you, it comes as a blame. Instead of, and when someone blames you, you directly get into defensive mode. So it same happens with your parents also. So instead of that, use I statements to help you understand your view of that particular point. Don't argue or whine. Use a tone that is very friendly, as I said earlier, and listen to what they have to say seriously. When you are high on emotion, when they are high on emotion, avoid speaking. No banging doors, no yelling, no shouting, no kicking, no silent treatments either. That's not healthy ways of coping with conflicts. Try to cool down. You just say, I'm taking a time off because today my emotion, already our amygdala is very high on emotion. So it has become too much high. So x to the power of n. So it becomes too high, right? For that reason, we have to first calm down. And then when you calm down, you will be in a more calmer place to talk back, expressing your needs in a more respectful manner. And that is when what you want gets fulfilled. When you try to shout, kick, yell, they also show their own power, and then things are very bad. Disagreements become high in home. Why do we want to get there? Instead of that, calm down and then try to put your point in a very calm, cool way. Be open to what they have to say, be open to what you have to say. We'll discuss about conflict resolution in the coming slides, but let's understand that conflict resolution is very important skill you may have to pick up. Then
Auntie,
be
we had a few, sorry, Auntie, we had a few questions related to parents and children. So do you want to answer them now?
yeah, career conflicts. No, that's what I'm telling her. Internet has taught teens everything. How to teach them as a parent of a millennial. Internet has taught. Internet has taught teens. What you have. See, it's all about communication, Tina. You talk about your fears in a way which is following those I statements, giving understanding that whenever I whenever you tell maybe it's okay, Tina is Kriti's mom. So sorry, you lost the chance. because your daughter is right here. So I can't talk. So I'll use a different example. So if the conflict is about, say, career, you can talk about as a conversation, okay? Saying that I fear if I choose this subject, if you choose this subject, I'm afraid that this will happen. After that, she will talk what is her view about that career choice. And after that, it is conversation. Means I talk, you talk, I talk, you talk. The moment it becomes heated, again we take a time break. Again say that day we discussed this. Do you think it's a time to speak? Do you think, yeah, we need to find middle ground? How do you find middle ground is by constantly, consistently conversing. And after that also, when your parents say, no, I have another slide for it, I'll come there. Nothing we can do, we have to accept it. But as much as possible, try to, okay, I'll talk that slide here only. See, I wrote that slide also. Unless until you share your life with them, for this anonymous attendee about career also the same thing. Tina, is my answer satisfactory? Conversations are the key. Without conversations, they won't understand, and they know things. They know how you think also, how a parent think, how your how in-laws think, how auntie uncle think. Everything they know, because as I said in the slide one, their view about life, they can make very good observations. So they know things. In spite of that, they wanted to take certain things. It is just we have to converse with them, try to understand what is happening in their lives, and see if we can aid to it. After certain times also, if they're very adamant that I want to do this, it is about, as I said, the flexibility of how much we can, yeah, Aryan, I'm coming back. How much we can have the bandwidth to be okay with that choice, and how we can help them hold when they take, because of their choice, they fail. It's difficult for us as a parent, but remember when our parents were there, we were also at some point we were not listening to everything what our parents told us. As a psychologist also, as a parent also, if we speak with our parents, they will come up with some 15 things how we were rebellious in your own ways. So the same thing can happen with our kids also. So I don't think they need to learn anything now. All they need to learn is to make problem solving skills. Okay, that is where when they fail, and when there is a decision making thing, right? You make a pros and cons list. So the pros, you discuss like what do you think are the pros, what do you think are the cons, and if the pros are more than cons, then you go for that choice. If the cons are more than the pros, you are okay to ignore that choice, or should we come up with a better choice? It's all about these kind. How I'm talking to you is the way, if we talk to teens, it works the best. So we have to tell in this. So because we are backing up with science of decision making matrix, they also learn, okay, because as I said, their planning and organization frontal context is not developed, it is in under progress. So they have to learn to do it. As we are learning, as we parents are teaching them the life skills about problem solving, their cortex is developed. Because end of the day, how will this muscle get developed is by firing, right? When you fire the neurons, it gets activated. There's a link that can happen between two neurons, and that's when the complete thing is formed. So when it fires higher, the better it gets formed. So when they are asking, that is the reason we, in the foreign countries also, we ask a lot of times to volunteer, to see a lot of experiences, and then solve problems using DIY instead of theoretical knowledge or logical reasoning. All these things can help us with better reasoning skills that can help us make better decisions in our life. Okay. Yes, Aryan,
Yes, ma'am.
something.
So I think before I ask my question, there's someone in the audience who's raised the hand. Uh, Bina has raised her hand. So if you could just type out your question in the chat or the Q&A
Who?
box, we can read it out maybe. So till then, I'm going to ask my question. I think this is slightly off topic, but when I ask this question, I'm going to ask it from, I think, from a lot of teenagers' side, which is how do we deal with expectations that our parents set for us? Like you have to do this, you have to get this many marks, you have to go to a college of this standard, you have to play these many sports. So they set a lot of expectations And how do we deal with our parents when they set so many expectations from us?
Firstly, you tell them, understand that in spite of their setting expectations, they love you dearly. That is point number one. And point number two, when they set expectations, it's all about communication. Again, this back to communication, because communication is the only thing that can help you lower the expectation. What is driving that expectation? Fear that you may not perform in life, right? And as rightly said, teens don't have the window of long term. They don't have a view of what will happen after 4 years, 5 years. They are living in the current moment. So it is important that someone tells us that this is the path we have set. But you, as an adult or a teen, have complete say in the matter of how to deal your life. So you please tell what is acceptable for you, what is not acceptable for you. If it is adding pressure, you tell them that this is stressing me out. Can we discuss about this? What do you want to do? As I said earlier in the slide, try to understand your parents' view. See here, try to understand situation per parents' point of view. So ask them what happens if I don't get into IIT. Did any of your backbenchers become CEOs in your life? I heard so. So I have heard some biographies where failures have become the one of the billionaires in the world, huh? And who have persisted, not even completed degrees, also have formed $1 million companies. Huh? Isn't it so, Dad, Mom? So do you think this is the only way for me to be successful, or do you think if I can carve a career which is according to me as of now, which is a better choice? Because when I love my career, I'll be in a more place to put a lot of effort. So I would want to pursue that. Will you support my choice? Will you back me up? It is difficult to have, and especially when the parents are of middle class, when their daily earnings dictate a lot of your tuition fees. It is very common that parents do put a lot of pressure on teen kids. But end of the day, it's all about negotiation about how much you can do, how much you can't do. End of the day, there is something called realistic expectations also, right? So one way is they say we listen, they say we listen, they say we listen. This is one way conversation. There is no two-way. Conversations can't happen in one way. Communication has never happened in one way. It's always two ways. Even now we are conversing. Somebody is nodding their head, somebody is raising their hand, somebody is putting thumbs up, somebody is smiling. That's all. Somebody is not leaving the webinar. That itself is a sign that it's going well, isn't it? Otherwise, on a Saturday evening, nice nighty, nice rainy weather, instead of making samosas and bhajis and having garam chai, why do they want to sit here and listen to whatever I'm talking? You know? Hmm? So that is all signs of communication. Similarly, it can't ever be one way. One way communication, we don't have to be, we should have that courage to tell that, okay, that is where self-awareness comes into place. Self-awareness is another topic which is altogether, we'll discuss parental expectations in a more detailed manner, because the more important aspect for us to be putting our foot down and talking about is absolutely knowing about our strengths and areas of weaknesses. When we as an adult can take the responsibility, me as an adolescent can take responsibility of this is where I'm good at, this is where I'm not good at, then I get the courage to talk back saying this is where I'm good at, looks like my strengths are all these things, and what you're suggesting is not in line with what my career needs are, what my career strengths are. Can we discuss more about what is pro about this, what is con about it? If pros are more, let me think about it. If cons are more, let's avoid it and look for another area of interest. Is that okay? It's all negotiation. How am I speaking is the exact way you're talking to your parents. No difference. No, I can't do it. No, why can't you understand? I know it's not of my interest. If this tone comes, again, that they also are like you only, know. End of the day, आप उसका माँ बाप है, तो आपसे बाप बाप जैसा बातें करते हैं वो लोग भी. इसीलिए finally you have to come to our conversations in a way where you're talking, Mama, let's do this, let's see this. You know, this is the way. in your own ways. Okay, I'm not saying you have to use this kind of accent, but the way you speak respectfully, they know that you are being acknowledged, they acknowledge you, you acknowledge them. There's a room for both a conversation. That is the way you crack that expectations problem. Yes, definitely it's a big worry to kids. There are a lot of suicides that do happen. Very valid question. But most important point is definitely understanding where we stand in our life, where what we know, what we don't know, and then try to set expectation, not comparing yourself. I'm very afraid that time will go away from our topic, but comparisons will lead to self-esteem problems, because when I'm comparing with my own other self, then what happens is I think I'm inferior. And when I'm inferior, I have feelings of self low esteem. And self low esteem will lead to self doubt that correct, no, whether my parent is telling correctly or not, maybe I am wrong, maybe they are right. At that time, it leads into these pressures. But when I am very well aware about these are my strengths, these are my areas of interest, these are the areas I think I can make a big difference, these are the things that's no go for me, then what happens is you can have the same kind of courageous trait when you go back and talk to them in a more open environment. Hmm? Discussion has to always happen. One person can't stop, one person can't get upset. If it is an area of upsetting, again stop. Say that, please, Dara, stop. Let's have this conversation. When you cool down, I cool down. Go back, cool yourself. Do whatever it takes for you to cool down. Help your parents to cool down. Give time, because career or expectations is not a one-day affair. But see that you are not regressing. Can stand their concern also. They are CEOs, especially if you are from this community, they are all, each of them are successful in their own realms. And they can't come back and say, my child has failed in 10th standard. They also have that pressure. And isn't it so? So for that, they also have that pressure. So we have to also be open to that. So what we can do, see, Nana, Daddy, I got 12 marks in maths in last exam. This time I got 14 marks. So I'm improving. So from 12, it is very impossible for me to go 25, right? Can I go from 12 to 12 and a half, 12 and a half to 13, 13 to 14, 15 to 20? Possible, because I know the process. So always when you are failing, don't think about the end result. Think about the process. When I know the process of getting successful, I repeat it. So when you understand the process of getting success, saying, okay, if I have to get 25 out of 25, these are the things I have to do. Not studying how many hours. That is also part of process, but that's not the only process. So when you know that, okay, this is what it took me to get from A to B. So now I repeat the process to confirm whether I got it right or not. So B to C I moved, or I stay at B, because you did not reduce the effort. If you have reduced the effort, it may go back to B to A again. So A to B, when you put effort and the same kind of process you are repeating, you move from B to C, and then you move to C to D. So this process is what you need to excel, and that's when you can repeat this success again and again. And digress the topic because of the question, but is it a satisfactory answer? You see a value, you see a point in what I am making. Hmm? Is
Yeah,
it
Auntie, I think that's a great answer. Yeah.
okay?
Auntie, we had another question. I'll just read it out.
Okay, if you take little more time.
Yeah, Auntie, no problem. You can continue. Sometimes high school relationships distract us from our real goals. How can we set healthy boundaries?
We'll go there. We'll go there. First, we'll talk about our parental things, and then we'll go to teen relationships. Okay? Can you have little patience, Papu? Huh? For some
Yes, Auntie, no problem.
minutes, we'll do that. Huh? So first, then we understood till here. No, don't make demands. I'm sure you don't make, but still, I'm just putting it from an adult point of view. Then what we'll talk about is don't argue or whine. Yeah, this is too many things happens with kids. Okay, a lot of times I hear that a lot of arguments happen. Okay, arguments can happen. Okay, as I guess I'm saying, constructive feedback, constructive criticism is always healthier, but it should not be under the realms of making the other person feel small. So the very litmus test, you might have litmus test in your chemistry labs, right? So the litmus test for you to understand whether your conversation has been fruitful, be it with parents or with kids or with anybody, is the experience of you speaking something should leave them with, there is somebody inside us. You feel that, right? It has to be in an expansive state. If that person inside you has become very small, that means the conversation hasn't gone well. For example, imagine I have talked Ashwin, you're very good Ashwin, you're very nice. How do your inner self feel? Or anybody who is here today, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you are here, spending time with me. I can't say how much happy I am, your presence has made me. I'm telling this really, very truthfully from my bottom of my heart. How does this acknowledgement make you feel? It makes you feel little expansive, right? If you think that my acknowledgement is truthful, I'm really thankful for your presence here. How do you feel inside? You feel expansive, right? Little expansive. You getting my point?
Yes,
That is,
I would feel more open talking to you.
inside somebody is opening up, like that you feel like a balloon is expanded, something like that. But if you feel, if I have just recollect a recent incident of yours where somebody has belittled you or hurt you or made you feel small, inferior. How do you use the experience? How do you feel inside? You feel inside person has shrunk in size, isn't it so? Inside, the inside, there is some person who has shrunk in size. Do you experience that? I have not experienced it. If you haven't experienced it, no problem. Just try to see if somebody next time does it. What is happening with you inside? Do you feel shrunk or do you feel expansive? If you have shrunk, that's not the state we need to leave other people when you're having conversations. When you feel expansive, that's the you need to attain to it. It needs practice. Communication is a skill, by the way. So it skills means we need practice to get it. So feel that. So any kind of conversations you want to make, be it a request, be it a permission seeking, or be it anything, try to see that the other person is left with a space of expansiveness. Even if you speak 10 words with your parents, just see that if you could make that 10 words, they have to feel expansive. It could be a hug, it could be a touch, it could be a smile, it could be a nod, sharing your inner life, whatsoever. Same with the parents. There's a give you a 10-minute window every day. In that 10 window, even you wanted to ask them about their lives, what is happening for their education, see that if they can frame your sentences in a way that they feel that they are very secure in your asking. They don't have to shun away from you. I know otherwise my romantic relations will have no time. I've spent so much time writing these words. So what to do if I speak put my request, but my parents don't listen? They will listen. They'll say not. They'll understand your point of view. Do everything you say, but they won't say yes. At that time, what you can do? You say you accept it very gracefully, saying yeah, probably I'm missing something very difficult. I know. After so much convincing, parents say no means we feel what is this? They don't understand only. But still, again, it is all part of growing up. Not every request can get an answer from you. So you have to learn to know, take no also respectfully. So try to see if you can take a no in a more respectful manner. Or else the second option is ask them, what is your concern? Why you are saying no? What is that you want me to show as a proof that I am in a place to do this? Is there a way we can set smaller goals to give you confidence that I'm in a really indeed in a place where I can do it? Once you get confidence, do you think you will send again? You will be open to grace my request? Please tell me. In this fashion, this is the way we negotiate. When you get an absolute no from them, I might never hide or break your parents' trust because after all, they deserve truth. Hmm? Second thing is you could also talk to someone else, some your friends, parents, or your teachers, your mentors, to understand, okay, what else can I do, kind of thing. Okay, where was I forgot where I was. Okay, here only, I think. Oh, okay, did I say this? Okay, then what else you can do is you can tip you can you share your life with your parents. They don't know a lot of times. They don't know what's happening with you really. So but they may be curious, they may be old fashioned, there is a considerable generation gap between myself and my own son who is a teen. So similarly, your parents also must be of my age group. So there should be considerable difference between you and your parents train of thought. So both of you have knowledge. As Tina rightly pointed out, internet has given a lot of exposure towards knowledge. So you have knowledge, they also have knowledge. Along with it, they may have a experience of doing things on their own because they've seen life for additional 30, 20 years apart from you, like above you. But still, both of you have logical reasoning. You have your own tools to figure out on internet and everybody else resources. So it's not that somebody is high or somebody is low, but unfortunately they don't know the way you view life. So give them a peek into your interest, your likes, your hobbies, your what's happening in your life, so they understand, oh, this is what is happening about with me, kind of thing. I forgot to write these points. And spend some 30 minutes with your family at least, to share it. As a ritual, you can have as a dinner table where you put your phones down, and all of you, there is a ground rule set that during dinner conversations, nobody is gonna belittle somebody or ask a status or talk about marks, which are all itchy subjects. No, it's all pleasant conversations. We are talking about goodness, strengths. We are talking about happy things. Or if nothing is there, at least express gratitude. All of you today at dinner table, let us sit and express gratitude for our lives. So many people are going through COVID. We are healthy. Can we say thank you, God? Can you say thanks for my life? Thanks for my parents. Thanks for my friends. Thanks for the money. Thanks for the schooling. Thanks to all the dresses I wear. And the moment you express gratitude, positivity is flowing. There's no way gratitude and negativity can stay in one side. It's it's like a flip of a coin. So express gratitude. That way, at least you can ensure that the meaning on the dinner conversations are still relevant. They can bond you together as a family, and then as after some time you can have conversations about your lives if it's something better to start, kind of thing. Then also make age appropriate responsible choices. Okay, so when you are at this age, don't try to ask for very provocative dresses if you are a girl, or try to help make choices which are very very unhealthy if you are a boy, because there is an age you're still not developed entirely, you still have a process to go forward. So as you are making building trust, instead of making these healthier choices and showing that window of yours, that you'll show this with your friends, I'm sure, but same thing you show with your parents also, so that you will show them a side of yours which others are seeing you as responsible. Oftentimes your friends parents will come and praise you. Why is it so? Because they see that side of you and your parents don't see that side of you. Try to show that responsible side of you, either they will appreciate and love you more, and they trust you, the trust will increase. Okay, I talked about this slide anyway. Let's talk about romantic relations for 20 minutes. Okay, please bear with the delay. So see, these are the basics. I'm not getting into too many details, but let's talk about important aspects. So from 9 to 11 years is where we start having this independence towards what happened. Okay. So from 9 to 11 years is where we want to have little more independence about leaving our family and move towards our friends. From 10 to 14 years, we want to spend little more time with mixed gender groups, which might eventually end up into romantic relationships. Not always, sometimes, or oftentimes. So 15, 19 years is where romantic relationship can become center of social life, and friends might become more deeper and more stable as we are, if we are together so far from those 4 years. Even in spite of that, there are possibilities of breakups. Let's talk about it later point of time. So something, but what is the fundamental aspect of romantic relationships is that somebody has chatted.
No, Auntie, I think,
I can continue, right?
yeah, you can just continue. Yeah.
I am in an urgency to complete. So there are something called identity crush, where you find someone admirable and say, I want to be like that. That's when I said that is where identity forms. You see your friends, parents, your teachers, your role models, Abdul Kalam sir, such kind of great personalities, and say, I also want to be that one day. So that's identity crush. Then romantic crush is something which feels like you have romantic feelings towards a person. It could be like, okay, this person is an ideal self of mine. This is a perfect person for me, kind of thing. But this happens at a very, very teen puppy love kind of stage where you're in fifth, sixth grades or seventh grades. But they don't last for long because the ideal perfect things you have about the view of a person often break down once you start spending time with that person. So it often comes like, I thought so, but doesn't happen. But your feelings are involved, so you may have to learn to understand the feelings of how to take rejections. Let's talk about that at a later point of time. So let's talk about the positive things today. So early teen relationships, how are they starts is they start with you hanging out together with your friends or groups. Then you might find someone who is special among those friends. You gradually spend more time with that person and you understand that, okay, it looks like this person is interesting for me. Then you start spending more and more time with that person, which can eventually lead into romantic relationships. But the point we need to understand is knowing what is okay and what is not okay, and what you should definitely care about being when you're in early teen relationships: safety. Okay, you should know what to do when you feel unsafe and threatened. This is very, very important. What you should do, definitely move away from that relation. Let's talk about what is unsafe and unthreatening. How do you feel threatened when you're in relationships? That in the coming slides. So most important things you should know when you are into explorative phases of getting into romantic relationships, if even if you are fantasizing about it or you want to observe about it, is it requires yourself to putting yourself out there, expressing your interest, and then you are risking rejection because there's every possibility to say no. Then if you are figuring out how to be a dating partner, how you have to have the responsibility of boyfriend girlfriend along with managing studies, we'll talk about it in a later word slide, but these are all the things you should know about it upfront. And you may also want to know about how to communicate, as I said earlier, all the things which you spoke about your parents also apply with your teen friends in a more equal manner. And then a lot of caringness. If you are a single kid with only boy child, you may not know a lot of intricacies of handling girls, so you may want to put a lot of thoughtfulness into it. So there are a lot of new skills we are learning, as with this social skills we are learning because of relationships. That's why it's also healthier. But every person don't have to get into relationships. It's a process, and accept it, be open to it, but don't force into it. So, having realistic expectations about a person or the concept of dating is very, very important. Oftentimes, it is never like the ones you see in your Disney movies or your rom coms or the books you read. Real life dating is entirely a different ball game. So, please don't get your hopes high that this should be like this, and don't get it crushed when it is not. Okay, and what's being comfortable with a person is when you are with some person, you are yourself. You are not trying to be over someone, you are not trying to show under you. You are you, the real you. And you have very different opinions on something, and the other person has a very different opinion about the same thing, and you know you're absolutely okay about it, because the fundamental aspect of relationship is respecting other person's choices. Just because you are in relation, it is not that you are becoming a mirror you of her, or mirror you don't expect her to become a mirror of you. You both are different individuals who have very different opinions, but you like each other to be around yourself, and you think you can bring together, you can make your life more enriching by being together. That's the reason you're together, but not because you have to be someone like her and he has to be something like you. That's not the right healthier relation. Third point is you trust absolutely each other when you are not together. It means that you are not insecure when a boy comes and talks to your girlfriend, and you are not as insecure when a boy comes and talks to your boyfriend, or a girl comes and talks to your boyfriend. It takes time to build a trust, but working on that, trying to communicate, trying to talk about your fears is important part of handling relationships. Again, you're not pressurized to do things we won't want to do. Something like sexual things, touching, dropping, or any other things, going to some places where you don't want to go, wearing something you don't want to wear, someone comes and says, if you don't, I like to wear you, I want you to wear these things and show up on internet, and then that means that you love me, I'm committing to yourself. These are all very, very not the realistic ways of healthy relationships. And the last thing is you support each other in achieving your goals and aspirations. This is one of the most important aspect. We will talk about it in a little more time about how to handle dating and our career goals in the next slide. What you should remember when you are new to relationship, especially during your romantic phase, is never get into a relation because you feel insecure about yourself. Never get into a relation because of out of peer pressure. All your boys and girlfriends have friends, and you are the left together, so you become a third mangler. So you wanted to somehow get into a relation. That's not the way reason to get into relationships. You don't want to bury your personal miseries into that. So every one of us come with our own personal baggages. So relationship is not a dump yard for you to dump those relation miseries and get some soothing from that other person. Okay, you have to be entirely secure about yourself when you're getting into relationship, because that's when it can thrive. You can get into healthier relationships. Without knowing what you expect out of this relationship, please don't get into it. Don't get into a relation just for the sake of getting into it. Understand your needs, your expectations, why you want to get into this relation, what you get out of this relation, how much time you're going to spend into this relation, how does it help me, how does it hamper me. Have a discussion which is okay to do, which is not okay to do, based on your family values, your upbringing, and your own personal values. And then see that if it is going well, go for it. If it's not going well, nip it at the entrance. Anyways, adolescence is a phase when you have to explore relations to get into understanding what is healthier and what is non-healthier relations. As much as we want to avoid getting into unhealthy relations just because to understand relations, it's always better to be proactive and look for healthier choices, as we are looking healthier choices even in every other areas of our life. Then when you are new to relations, dating, most of us, we spend all the time with our boyfriend, girlfriend, forget about our other friends. Please don't do it. As much as they are new, you still need your social life outside of your boyfriend, girlfriend relationship. And nobody wants to be friends with someone who dumps us at the nick of the corner and then asks us to be friends with us when they dump us. That's not relationship work. It is about relationships are formed on mutual respect and trust. So friends carry certain areas of respect and interest. Girlfriend, boyfriend carries some other spaces in our life. Let's respect everybody in our lives. So then be your own person. Keep thinking about what you like, what you need, what my aspirations, what my goals are, and have an interest that's just yours. As I said, you don't have to be a mirror copy of your boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay, even if you are having similar interest, because otherwise there's no point you become a boyfriend, girlfriend. Even if you are having same interest, both of you like science, both of you likes these kind of movies, still develop your own identity, explore what you really like inside of it, because science is such a vast science is such a big topic. You may like biology, he may also like biology, but biology maybe both are ahead. So like that, get into specifics of further like how onion gets peeled. Try to know more about yourself. That's when you will be so secure in your own relation. And then don't hide from problems. Don't think that whenever a small mistake happens it will lead into breakup, and then don't shiver and then admit to whatever other person says, or you ask her to admit to whatever you say. Okay, when something goes wrong, it is not the end of the relationship. Relationships have conflicts, because when you are in a relation, it means that two individuals are getting together to have better life, not that somebody is foregoing other person's life. So this person has left some 12-14 years in their own lives. This person has lived their 12-14 years in their own lives. Now you both are getting together for certain purposes. So it can't be that they can erase these. You can't erase these. But you have to understand to learn to be okay with those differences, respect each other, and try to encourage each other on their own goals. When there are problems, you try to fix them and work through their problems, so that you become a better relationship person. You as a couple will evolve. So how to resolve conflicts? Anybody, it's with sibling, with your parents, whosoever it is. The objective of resolving conflicts is to face conflicts, first of all, not to shunning it away under the carpet and act as if everything is okay, or avoiding it, or becoming suppressive about it. Okay, when someone says, other person listen. This is not healthier in any relation. Both have to have conversations, right? So explain how you feel about specific topic using I statements. Listen to how he or she feels and try to understand other point of view. Avoid generalization. Something like you always do this, you don't at all love me, you don't at all care about me. Education is only important for you. Parental goals are only important for you. Don't try to use these kind of generalized statements. Don't yell, shout, judge, belittle, cry, and drama. Just try to talk facts and don't bring past disagreements. That time also you did like this time also you did like this. Don't get into that kind of things also. Just focus on the current conflict, the reason behind it, and not the person behind it. The reason of conflict, arrive at a win-win situation. Apologize if required. Discuss about how you could avoid further this kind of conflicts in the future. If possible, let go, forgive, move on. Don't bring it again and again into your lives. What are signs of healthy relationships? I'm just fastening. If anybody have doubts, please ask me. So if healthy relation is something where you are focusing on your academic goals and working towards it. You communicate clearly about your goals and routines to your boyfriend and girlfriend. You communicate that you expect support on these topics and help him understand that they have to help you achieve your academic goals. You agree on how much time you'll spend with each other and you'll spend time based on your study expectations. Your relationships is important, your career is also important. So you're giving equal priority using time management. You decide this is the time I'm going to spend time with you, this is the time I'm going to not spend time with you. If you're somebody who is having athletic interest or you're somebody who is aspiring to get into IIT JEE, such kind of big universities, obviously you will be crunched with time, you have a lot of projects to do, and even she should be also of the same sort. Then what happens is both of you will work towards achieving your fundamental goals, and as long as your needs are fulfilled, your goals are fulfilled from your career point of view, your relationships can thrive. If your relationship, if you end up forgetting who you are, mirroring their expectations, trying to always please others, because you don't know what you like, so you try to please others as a way of living. What happens is all the life goes on pleasing others, every moment being scared of whether that person will ditch me, when that person will ditch me. Instead of that, if I know these are my strengths and this is why I formed a relation with this particular person, and have communications very clearly, this is my goal, I'm working for it, do you think this is something which is good for you? And if it is not, don't have to. Physical attraction is only one aspect of relationship, but after that, understanding, trust, patience, perseverance, encouragement, all these comes as pillars of your relationship. And if these are not there, anyways, that is going to die down very soon. So first, instead of you getting entangled into wrong relations, it's better you wait and get into healthier relationships. And if somebody is, there are a lot of distractions that is pulling you out of routines, you and that is taking you far from your goals, please communicate the same to her or him, and again adjust the expectations. If it is not working, decide which is important for you. Either you reset your goal, your career expectations, or you reset your relationship expectations. Both can't happen at the same time. Got it? And during arguments or differences, use, as I said, I statements. Don't always say you, always, never kind of thing. Clearly set limits and say no when you're asked to do something which you're really not okay with or you're not comfortable. And when you realize that something went wrong, forgive yourself and move on. Something like a breakup has happened. You have made a wrong choice. You thought that he's the person or she's the person, but it didn't work out. Instead of belittling yourself, instead of hitting hard on how did I trust that person, how did I trust this person, why did I do this, why did I do this, take it as a part of learning. It's all as a part. As I said from the beginning, I've been telling adolescent is the age where you're growing up. And even for at 30 years, 40 years, if humans can make mistakes, you also can make mistakes. So allow yourself to be okay to make mistakes. Don't aspire to have perfect relations, because perfect relations is only in books, not in real lives. So have realistic expectations, manage your studies, your academic goals are really important as your romantic relationships. So don't refrain from having it, but have a balance between your academics, your study, your making a difference, your personal relationships. Okay. Signs of abusive relations, very important. somebody who is trying to be in relation with you because you've been having same interest, you are talking nicely, but the moment we declare ourselves as boyfriend girlfriend, if somebody is trying to constantly criticize you, make you feel bad, trying to keep you away from your friends and family by always trying to say spend time with me, do this for me, always you think that you're doing so much for that relation than the other person is offering. You want to, and whenever you both meet, the half the time the other person is trying to go through your personal messages or your Facebook messages or your Instagram feeds, like cyber stalking it's called. So if somebody is trying to do that or trying to hack your passwords and try to get into your lives, or using social media to monitor where you are, what you are doing, whom to talk, where to go, why you are talking with this person, where did you go here. If somebody is asking such kind of questions in the beginning of relation or at any point of relation, or force you to do things that you really don't want to do or you really don't want to go, make you feel guilty for no reason, hurt you because of just to show that power, like for no reason. If you had make a mistake and someone hurt you, it's a different thing, because quarreling is part of relationship. So we quarrel, we patch up, that's the beauty of relation. But if someone hurts you intentionally to make you feel small, to make you feel bad, then that's a sign of abusive relationship. So this is my ending of abusive relation. 5 minutes I'm going to spend on COVID. So sorry for the time. So is it okay? Can I spend 5 minutes, or is it we are exceeding the time?
Auntie, I think we'll have to wrap up because it's almost 6:30 now. So
All right then. All right then. Let's. Okay, I'll just talk 1 minute. Stay active during these times. Eat healthy. Have adequate sleep. Constantly understand how you're feeling different times of the day. Keep yourself engaged and active by doing productive things like gardening, hobbies, sharing the or house chores with your parents, or reading something very productive instead of spending a lot of time online. Have routines that for your personal hygiene, for your virtual friend meetups, online content viewing like Netflix, Prime, or social media or esports. Have some routines and stick to it, because very very important. Otherwise, human mind is devil's advocate. So when you're spending a lot of time on non-productive things, it becomes a room for devil's paradise. So engage in very new learnings every day. uh, do some kind of kind activities to others, because it will improve your self-worth. Practice practices like meditation, journaling, and relaxation techniques whenever you feel the need for it, because it will enhance your inner strength during these difficult times. And whenever you're feeling, any of you or your friends you hear, they feel that you are not being feeling better about yourself, like you're really becoming agitated, you're frustrated, you're moody, or you're becoming overwhelmed because of a lot of losing people, deaths, or whatever reason, have difficulty in relaxing, or you feel bad about yourself, lonely, worthless, or sad, you're trying to avoid others, or unable to sleep well at night, you have lack of appetite, loss of interest in doing things which you previously enjoyed, this is a sign of you need to talk to somebody. So kindly talk to your parents, talk to seek professional help, and help yourself. All right. And I'm really again sorry for extending so much time, and I'm really thankful that you guys stayed so far. That's the end of my presentation.
No, I think we have to thank you, ma'am, for taking on the time, and we have all learned of your considerable expertise when it comes to this. And we see how passionate you are. Once you start, you just
That's it.
keep on going.
That's
That
my
that just yeah, that just shows us how passionate you are and how much you know about this subject. And I think if our parents were half as understanding as you are, then half of problem will be solved right there.
our responsibility to tell them also. As I said, I have 15 years expertise in this space. Your parents have never studied psychology, no, Kanna. So obviously they don't know these things. That's the reason. So please, as a favor with all the thing. If you could do one thing, just be little tolerant with your parents and try to communicate back with them. They love you dearly. I'm sure most of your parents love you as dearly as I love my son. So kindly be tolerant with them. Show your empathetic side. Show your independence. Give them enough support and confidence that you are really grown up. You can make your choices. If things go wrong with your friends, feel free to write individual mails to me with your personal problems. I'm happy to write back.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I'm very sure if I can't make my parents understand a part of it, I will make sure that they talk to you at least
Sure.
because you understand it so well. So thank you so much. You put some great points forward, and I'm sure that all of us have learned something or the other, including teenagers and parents today. So thank you so much, and we hope to see you in the future with Unlock. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Auntie.
ma'am, and thank you everyone for attending as well. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.